Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another weekly episode of Something New Live, the Why podcast. So sadly, for all of our viewers, I am sorry to tell you that there is no Scott McGregor today. He got caught up on something and had to finish some project and is unable to be with us today. But we have an incredible guest. Hopefully you will still stick around because she's awesome. And part of the reason that I joined Something New was because they put people over everything, as we know. So we do that. And Scott is a really incredible leader who allows us to be ourselves. And I brought this idea of this podcast and everybody has joined in and jumped on board. And it's been truly, really fun to sort of get to know more about Something New, what we do, and our why. So today I'd like to introduce the beautiful, the wonderful, we call her Hollywood Diane Ristau. Here she is. Hello.
Oh, hi.
Hi, how are you? Oh, you're people over everything also.
Yes, I got my pink for Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Nice. I'm not going to lie. We talked about it. I'm not going to act like we didn't talk about it. We said we were going to do it, but we got so many of these shirts that we love them so much. It's not that hard to find one for every day of the week. We have them in every color.
And you've styled yours by cutting the neck, and I
style,
my green one as well. So
yeah, I admittedly, I know everyone will find this super interesting. Army green, not my color. But for you, because I knew you wanted a people over everything t-shirt, I did it. So I'm taking one for the team, Di.
Yes, love Army green.
Yeah, not for me. However, we'll move on. So tell me a little bit about, and I honestly don't know this story, like how you started at Something New.
Yeah.
And how the whole relationship started, because I never got to hear this.
Yeah, we haven't talked about it. So this is perfect. So I have done recruiting off and on throughout the years. When my husband had to, when he took a new job and I had to quit mine for our move, I answered a newspaper ad of all things. Remember those newspaper ad for a recruiting job for a small company, and I really liked it. But my background is in training and development more so, and so but the recruitment was something that I just really enjoyed. Just the thrill and the satisfaction of helping somebody connect, like a great company and a great person connect, was just really meaningful to me. So anyway, I was looking to get back into it, and I got referred, actually. I was doing a search, and an individual was a reference for a candidate. And I thought, you know what, this guy, he's smart, and I really enjoyed talking with him, and he just kind of stuck in the back of my head. So weeks later, I reached out to him and I said, hey, remember you were a referral reference? Let's talk. And so we talked, and I said, you know what, I'm looking to maybe branch out. So then he said, he hooked me up with Jason Eckhart. I don't know if Jason's not watching, we'll make sure he sees this.
Yeah, exactly.
Jason. And I'm like, why is he hooking me up with Jason? Jason's in logistics. And anyway, it was a great connection. And Jason said, I think you need to talk to Scott McGregor. And so
Bree's on the line, says hello, Di.
Oh,
Hi, Bree.
Hey, Bree.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No problem. So then Scott and I talked, and we had several conversations, and eventually he flew out to Minnesota here with his beautiful wife, Meg, and we went to a fabulous steak dinner, and he met my husband and I, and the rest is history.
So when was this about?
About 3.5 years ago.
Oh, so it was a while ago. Okay. Yeah. So you're a veteran, right?
Yeah.
Which I knew, I just didn't know exactly how long.
Right.
So what was it about the company that drew you in? I mean, I know that, I know Scott, obviously, and we talk about him all the time and sort of how special he is as a person, but, what was it really that sort of drew you to the company, to where you said, this is where I want to branch out to?
Right. So I think Scott is just, as you know, a dynamic person, and he had a passion for giving back, helping others, and where the company's gone since then is amazing. But even back then, that's always been part of his mission, and just the fact that he did things differently in the recruiting world. People that really resonated with me, and I liked his model, and so it was just a great match.
It was a great match. So tell me your funniest Scott story. Like, what's something, and I know he's quite a character. Tell me like one of the funniest things that's ever happened so we can sort of share, because he's not here and that's his fault, not ours. So we're going to really sell him out if we can.
Oh goodness, I wish I would have known you were going to ask me this question.
Sorry, I just thought of it.
I think it's him showing up like randomly in costume when it's not anywhere close to Halloween.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
Yeah, he just pops up in a random costume from time to time. Why? Just to make us laugh and keep us on our toes. And some people couldn't get away with that, but he's smart, professional, and funny, so it works.
He's also like Scott's very straight faced. So like he doesn't show like until you get him laughing, he doesn't show a lot of emotion, I don't think. So like one time he just like, we have a morning meeting every day and he just like popped up his head and he was just like wearing a banana outfit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he just shows up. This was not near Halloween. Like this wasn't like
this was probably in honor of his good friend Jesse Itzler's love for bananas, but
yeah. I mean, I just, he always seems to have something funny like that. And he really brings a lot of flavor and character. We have like signs that we hold up, whether we're saying good or bad things at the meetings. And there's always some sort of joking going on. And it never seems to be like a dull moment, like there's always moving and shaking.
Very true.
So I wanted to find out from you in your words, like, what's and it can be professional, it can be personal. And I sort of said this when we talked very briefly because I don't do a whole lot of preparation because I like it to be off the cuff, but we talk a lot about our whys and like what makes us sort of tick and what makes us do what we do every day. And I just wanted to kind of hear if you have any sort of why and if you wanted to talk about that.
Sure. Well, I think first and foremost, so I've had the opportunity to work a flexible schedule and mostly from home office with, some travel for years now. And the main why for that is actually behind me is family, my kids, and the opportunity to work a job, a great job, but still be here when my kids get off to school and be here when my kids get home. So that's my main why for working for a company like Something New is because of the flexibility that it allows and the support that Scott provides in putting family first. So that is awesome. But then I think it's so important that we are using our skills, what we've been created to do. I feel like everyone has a purpose that they're created for.
Scott Garver's the absolute best. I mean, the most energy. Like, I feel like I see his face going, Annie! So if you thought I have to put it on right away.
Yeah. No, but I feel like we're all created for a purpose, right? And so just having flexibility alone is not a good enough reason to work a job, right? So I feel like I'm fulfilling part of my purpose in doing what I'm skilled to do, right? And we're all created to do different things. And when you can find that thing that you're good at, that is just so meaningful. So another why is because I feel like it uses my talent and skills. But then thirdly is just the overall fulfillment of helping other people find a job that may really utilize their skills and talents and helps them find their purpose. It's so awesome. Now we have labs. I'm more on the recruiting side, but I have a training development background. So our lab service, advisory, onboarding services are near and dear to my heart too. But recruiting is where I spend the majority of my time, and it's just so fulfilling to see people be given the opportunity to use their skills and fulfill their purpose. And especially at those times where maybe it's a candidate that a client wouldn't have considered, but because we were able to learn about them in a way that doesn't come across on a resume. We're able to convince a client that, hey, you got to talk to this person, and to see those matches, especially when it's the underdog getting the job, is really fulfilling. And then I guess fourthly is the fact that we do help so many organizations, charity wise. We support many organizations. Not only Something New does, but having this job allows me the flexibility to support other organizations. Just this week, for example, I've been helping with our football booster club, my son's football team. I was able to put time towards that perhaps a different job wouldn't have allowed that time. And then I'm a part of Young Life youth organization here for the local chapter. And that's such a great organization that helps the youth in the community. So Something New has its own that we support as a group. And then I know that many of us have our own personal areas where we love to give back.
Yeah, that's true. And we got a comment. Scott Garber, you're my favorite too, by the way. But Greg Briscoe said, hello, Greg. I love the fact that Hollywood Die is sharing the human element that goes into recruiting. So that was actually going to lead right into my next question. So my next question was going to be, we always preach people over everything. We're wearing the shirts, we hashtag it, but what does it mean to you as a person?
Sure. So for me, it means understanding the value that each and every person brings to whatever they're doing. And that when you put people before profits, when you put people before product, that is when a company will really thrive. And caring about people, providing processes and resources that support the growth of people, and it's just putting people as your highest priority.
Yeah. I mean, it is, your number one, it's the genesis and the middle of everything, the center of everything. So it doesn't make sense not to, but I think it's such a rarity that companies actually do it. And sort of that's our message, it's like, well, people over everything, what does that really mean? So I like to sort of talk about with everybody that comes on, what does that really mean? So tell us, Di, this is super important. Where are you located? I know where you're located.
Minnesota. Yeah.
Minnesota. And it's beautiful weather, you said lately?
I have a sweater on here because of that. Yes, no, it's been very cold. But we've got a warm up coming. So
it's going to get warm?
Yeah, next week.
It's been snowing and freezing, right? You've been saying that every morning we get on and we talk about the weather and what's going on there. And poor Di is suffering in the
cold hands, warm heart. So yes.
Cold hands, warm heart. I love it. Well, that goes right along with everything. I mean, one of my favorite things about Something New, and I always preach it, is, and this is a word that is woven into the fabric of like my being, and one of the main reasons I joined the company is authenticity. So like there's a true authenticity when it comes to this company, just like I preach in my life, that I think people need to sort of shed the outer skin and sort of have their authentic self showing. And when that happens, then there's a lot more of contentment and happiness and joyousness, and also vulnerability and real, that real factor. And I love that. And don't you sort of agree that Something New has that feeling? I mean, I've worked at other companies and it is not the same feel.
Yes, for sure. I think we can bring our real selves, and we're accepted for our real selves. And it's okay to say things that are vulnerable and honest. And, to that point too, I think one of the things that I've really learned in the last few years is connecting with people that are that same way too. So just to see, I mean, I don't know if it's happening overall in general on LinkedIn, or if it's just who I'm connected to, who we're connected to as a team. But I feel like people are being more honest and real, and I guess even, vulnerable. People sharing stories about themselves that you would never have heard shared on a platform like LinkedIn, maybe even a year ago.
I totally agree with you. And it's so much so because we're leading this revolution, like this movement of just being real and authentic. And then that brings out, like, in the people that we interview and the people that we place in jobs and, our clients, it brings out that realness and authenticity of them when we act like that. But Di, you have been, like, truly, since I began at Something New, you've just been wonderful since the first moment that we talked, and you've been a real leader and example for me. So I wanted to thank you because I just think you're like the epitome of professionalism. And I just adore you. And I think you're just an awesome, awesome person. And I'm so happy that you're part of this and I get to learn from you. And, people you need people when you start to model the way so you can kind of see, okay, this is how it's done here. So, so we have a guest that just popped in. Is going to say hello. So Allie Fisher, welcome to the show.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I totally missed the first 15 minutes. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm talking about you the whole time. So
I know my ears were burning. Is that the expression?
I wanted Allie to pop on a few minutes early before we continued into our show about labs and just sort of talk about, see if she has anything to add about Hollywood Di. While she's here, we didn't get to have Scott, so I wanted you to join and kind of say your piece.
Well, and I have to give kudos to Greg for naming me Hollywood Di.
Yeah, I love it. That's such a BB thing.
I have my sunglasses on, sitting outside during our calls when it was a lot warmer out. So
I love people that pop in. Look, seeing the human element behind Something New. So amazing. It's so true. So true. Thank you, Michael. So Allie, it's all you.
Yeah, I think that Di is a wealth of knowledge. I mean, I don't come from the recruiting space, and to learn and to hear what you have to share, especially in our meetings in the morning, is pretty incredible. It's it's like a tutorial every day for me. So yeah, and your kindness and your generosity and your cadence and your demeanor, it's fantastic. Just adds to the group environment for sure. I just caught the tail end when you guys were talking about, authenticity and people bringing their real selves to the platform. And I know that we do that behind the scenes with our team meetings. And I'm glad that the world gets to see a little bit of Di today. So it's phenomenal.
Yeah. So I guess I just wanted to, sort of wrap up, Di, and tell you how amazing you are. And we already we spotlighted you because you're such a gift. And to add to what Allie said, when you do bring that wealth of knowledge, I sort of like defer. Don't you feel, Allie, like I sort of like defer to Di? Like I want to like make sure it's okay with her before I get something done. I'm like, can she just like check in and like make sure that this is good and like check the box and then I'll feel better about it. So just know that you're sort of a leader like that.
Yeah, she's always like, I've got another great candidate. I'm like, geez, where the hell does she find these people? Yeah.
I don't know. When this comes up, I mean, I love LinkedIn users, but I have no idea who it is. So thank you very much. I appreciate you.
I know. I don't know why I does that either.
Being live, so thank you. And Bree said, close to perfect human as they come.
Oh, Bree, that's
like the best team ever. Like honestly, honestly,
I do love the support. It's just amazing that the support we have for each other.
It really is. It really is. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I'm going to watch the first 15 minutes on playback. I'm sorry. I was in COVID testing. I'm well, but I missed the first 15 minutes. So.
All right.
Okay. Bye, Di.
Bye, Di.
Good to talk to you. I'm so glad you were here. I guess I remove her like that. I feel bad removing people. Hi, Al. How was your COVID testing?
It was good. It was good. I'm going in for some tests next week, and precautionary. They need to make you have the COVID test.
Do that. It's fun, right?
Yeah. So for those of you that have not had one, I had one a while back, just as precautionary. Me and my kids, and we all went, and we did the spit test, which is a little gross. You just have to like sit there in a sea of people and like spit into a tube.
Oh, really? Is that what happens?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, if you don't produce enough saliva, it like takes forever to spit into this tube. But
so
today,
don't eat like a lot of salt before you go. Like definitely like
no, and you're actually not allowed to eat or drink for I don't know how long beforehand, which we didn't know. So I think one of us had like coffee or something, so we just didn't tell anybody. But you need to have like a pure spit. Sorry, this is gross.
Pure spit.
Anybody watching, you might be familiar with this. I think a lot of people get COVID tests for precautionary. But today I had the nose swab and that hurt like an MF. Oh my God.
It doesn't feel good. It doesn't
Oh
feel
crap.
good.
Yeah.
It depends who does it, because my kids have gotten a couple of them just due to possible exposure, and they are kids, so naturally they would complain more so than an adult probably. But they were like, it was nothing. It felt like a tickle in your nose, so maybe somebody was kind of rough.
I think he jabbed me. He was like mean. She looks too nice. Let's ruin her day.
Yeah, let's just like jab it in her nose. So one of the things that we do for the people that are just joining, Bree says she's really glad your test came back negative. One of the things we do every week is after my show with Scott, and you jump on, and we have our little show about Something New Labs. So we can talk about the 3 pillars that make up Something New Labs and sort of what it is that we do. So we went over talent acquisition, we went over talent onboarding, and obviously we have plenty to talk about, with any of those categories. It's not like it's done. The conversation is ongoing. But
yes,
this week we're going to focus a little bit on retention, which I think, is a word that probably for me, like with most of our clients, I'm finding it resonates like first with them, the retention piece, because it's the first thing where they click and say, you know what? Yeah, our retention rate. And it's sort of like Scott always says, they sort of say, well, you don't really retain everybody. It's just the way it goes. And what we're trying to sort of change is that mindset about that, like a retention problem doesn't have to be this dripping money out of your company type problem. So I wanted to sort of see what you have to say about retention.
I think retention is the grabber because usually retention is associated with cost.
Yes.
So as you have that revolving door, which we typically say is not a policy, having a revolving door is not a policy. Right. It costs you real money. I mean, not only money to recruit new people, but money to onboard new people. And the morale hits that you have with your existing staff is an actual cost. The toxicity that can result from people leaving, especially if you have a retention problem, is costly because that it just pollutes the talent pool.
And companies sort of don't realize, like, forget like what they lose. Companies don't realize what they're gaining by retaining people, like what the amount of money that they're not losing and that they're gaining by retaining people. So I think it's sort of just like a cost that is almost fixed to some companies, most. It's just, that's the way it is.
Cost of doing business.
Yeah, cost of doing business.
Yeah.
And we're trying to sort of change the way that mindset is, because it certainly doesn't have to be that way. Yes. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more specifically about like our lab pillar, the Something New Labs retention, but please feel free.
Yeah. So we talked about onboarding last time, and I think we ended with the fact that onboarding doesn't just end at 30, 60, or 90 days when you feel that your employee has been assimilated, that they're officially trained, maybe they're more productive, they understand your service, your product, your team. Onboarding doesn't end there. You can't forget about your employee.
Right.
And that's where hey, Joel.
Hi, Joel.
That's where retention really starts to ramp up. Again, don't get me wrong. Retention happens before you actually even get the person into the office. It's all of the things that we discussed previously.
Yeah.
Right.
It's all part and parcel. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's how you announce them on social media. It's the candidate experience before they were hired. It's the feedback loop. It's, it's how you treat them on day one.
Process,
It's everything. So I'm not saying ignore all that and start them on day 91, but you can't just train them, get them up to speed and say, okay, well, now they actually understand what they're doing. So they're good.
We're just going to throw them to the wolves. It's not the best way to do it.
Right. So part of retention is continuous development, continuous training, ensuring that you meet with them, that you've set their KPIs, which is key performance indicators, for those of you that don't know the acronym, the goals up front, and that you meet on those regularly.
Yes.
In fact, we had a conversation.
Not just like an end of the year review.
Not annually. We had this conversation today.
Yes.
Scott and I feel the same. I'm sure that you do as well. Having an annual meeting, and that being really the only time that you meet with your employees to discuss performance or targets, is really setting your employee up for failure. So I've always been a huge supporter of weekly check-ins. I mean, you should be talking to your staff daily. So that's not where I'm going. But I think you should be having sort of weekly check-ins, taking people's temperature, giving them feedback and, pseudo-corrective criticism through just general conversations.
Conversation, communication, clear communication, just like with any relationship.
Yes.
Is really helpful.
Yeah. So, and those conversations are not, I know that we're in a virtual world now, but those conversations, even in a virtual world, it's not like, okay, we are going to meet at between 10 and 10:30, or I'm going to pull you into my office. It doesn't have to be that formal. These conversations happen very holistically in passing. You're just discussing a client conversation or an escalation problem, or it runs the gamut what you could be talking about, and those things
positive things,
positive things, yes,
happen, things that you just
celebrating something good,
a win, celebrating
celebrating a win for sure, and those turn into great conversations where you're able to provide positive and corrective feedback, which are helping them meet their KPIs and provide the information that they need in order to succeed. So if you have to have that proverbial annual performance evaluation, which I get, from a salary standpoint, you have to tick that box and you probably have to have something on record, fine. But there should not be any surprises. Part of retaining is training. And training is not like being vacant for 12 months and expecting success.
I think support is such a key, just the general support that you can give your employees as a leader is not an annual thing. And it's not even like a monthly thing. It's not like, we're not even talking about sit down reviews here. We're talking about just communication and conversation and making people feel like people. I think is so key. So Joel said it has to be ongoing for sure. Having regular conversations helps people stay engaged. Great to see you live. This is my buddy. When he always posts.
Oh, he's got my namesake.
Yeah, he does. So I mean, it definitely has to be ongoing and regular conversation. I mean, we were talking today when we had our meeting first thing this morning. This is just the three of us, you, me, and Scott. We were talking about sort of, a leader should be talking to their employees daily. I mean, you should really know what's going on with your people, keep them in close touch. What are your thoughts on that, Al?
Yeah, definitely. We have team meetings daily. If you can, I would say you should be touching base.
If you can, obviously it's not
if you can.
possible, but
I mean, if you've got a team of 50, I understand maybe it's not reasonable. Maybe you do it weekly, like formal weekly meetings, but it should be regular and ongoing. I sort of like more formalized quarterly KPIs where you're really discussing where they stand, especially if they're trying to hit targets and really specific goals. But again, no surprises. There should not be any surprises at any stage. They shouldn't come to you and say, I had no idea that I was not succeeding at that.
I have to tell you, Allie, my best manager I ever had when I was in pharma, I was excited to go to our reviews. Like I was excited to sit down and talk performance.
You shouldn't have fear. No one likes the performance evaluation. It's like dreadful.
Exactly. I had fear. I was worried. What are they going to say? What surprises are going to come up? Are they going to say, well, what happened here? And I'm sitting there like, because I was in sales for years and years. So, I think when I think back, and I always think back to this one woman that was my best manager, and she just led the way and modeled the way for me. I was definitely like psyched. I'm like, awesome. We're going to have our lunch. We're going to sit down and talk about, and we talked all the time, but I mean, like for the formal, sort of performance review, it was really
like, and you're probably, it's what it should be like. And you're like in the 5%.
I know.
Like, I would say, yeah, 99.9 even percent of people are like, oh my God, it's dreadful.
Yeah.
Like, you know, what can I expect? You should never be thinking, oh my God, what are they going to say?
Yeah, or nervous, like I remember just being so nervous, not because I was doing anything wrong, but I just didn't know what the person was going to say. I didn't know, we hadn't communicated and everything. So it definitely, if you think about that, like the reason I stayed working for this woman and it was at Lilly at the time, Eli Lilly and Company. And the reason I loved that company so much was that was one of the reasons. I was led by, true leadership that sort of showed me the way and there weren't surprises. It was exciting.
Yeah. We've got another one. Retention is so enormous for bottom line. Yep. Save jobs.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Completely shift culture as well. Yeah. I mean, that's so true. It's like on a negative or a positive scale, it can completely change the culture when there's the last company I was at where there was an issue, it was an absolute revolving door. And I really didn't know enough when I started. That was my bad. I should have known better that the position had been a revolving door, and there's a reason. I'm not so special that I'm going to make it stop revolving. It wasn't me. It was like an obvious company issue.
Yeah, yeah. And the people get resentful. The people that are left behind to pick up the pieces, because someone's still got to do the work. I mean, no one. When people leave, that person was there for a reason, and the work still needs to get done. So the people that are consistently left behind have to pick up that work. And do you think that they're being paid? They're not getting compensated for constant seats that are cold. I mean, it's not happening. And then they have to spend another 3 to 6 months onboarding new employees just to have that thing in the back of their head saying, why should I even care? Because they're going to leave anyway.
Yeah.
It pollutes the entire population. And I'm not talking one-offs. You can't force employees to stay. We say this too, right? Sure. You can't force employees to stay. There's lots of reasons outside of working with a great company. I mean, you can have a fantastic company. You can do everything right, and people leave. People leave for financial reasons, for personal reasons, for family reasons, they have just a better opportunity with greater growth. But that shouldn't be the norm. You should be able to create growth and opportunity and value. Where not everyone is like, it's like a mass exodus all the time at the same time. Right. That means that there's a systemic problem.
That there's a systemic issue. Yeah. What do you think out of the labs? What sticks out to you as like, not the most important, but the one that you like the best to talk about? Because I know we educate our clients about this stuff all the time. I want to know what sort of lingers as your favorite. You have like
in the retention one specifically?
Yeah. Or one that resonates the most with clients, would you say?
Yeah. That's a good question. I like cultural bubbles. So we have something called culture bubbles, and I don't know if we made up that term or not. I sort of like it.
I never heard it before.
I've never heard of it before. I mean, it makes sense. It's logical. But you might have, the expression that people work for managers, not companies necessarily. People work for great leaders. So you might have a wonderful leader and a great team, but the entire rest of the company is toxic. Yeah. That is still a problem for the company. And companies need to recognize that you can have pockets of excellence and pockets of zero turnover, phenomenal retention, great culture, great engagement, people meeting regularly, all the things that we train and that we teach people to do well. But if you go outside of that bubble, the company is falling. So it's important for the company to recognize that there are these pools of people that are doing exceptionally well, and to try to learn from that and mirror that behavior. You can't just have a bubble. What if your leader leaves? Right. I mean, you want people to have loyalty and belief in the overall company and the company mission. And you want all of the leaders, idealistically, to follow that same lay of the land.
I think that starts with talent. Like we always say, these three pillars really go together. I mean, it starts with talent acquisition and getting the right people because you align with, your company mission aligns with theirs, and your values and your morals and everything sort of align. And that starts at the first pillar. That starts with acquisition. So if you get to retention and you're not aligned, there's a reason. And there's, like you said, it becomes sort of like a systemic issue, I think. So I don't know.
I like courageous conversations too. I think.
Oh yeah, that's a good one too.
I think courageous conversations, we talk about the need to have uncomfortable discussions with, Scott always says, if I've got food in my teeth, you really need to tell me. Like, please don't let me walk around with like food in my teeth or my zipper down or something, If someone is not doing something well, that's going to tank them. I mean, it's just not going to help them short or long term. Yeah. It could be relationships with others. It could be, specific process issues. It doesn't really matter what it is. You should grow some balls and have that discussion with them. It's why you can't just promote anybody into leadership. Leadership is not just a matter of seniority. A lot of companies do that as well, right? You've got tenure, so we just, theoretical tenure. So we're just going to promote you. You've been here long enough. Becoming a leader is so much more than just having a certain level of experience and skin in the game in the company. Yeah. You have to be able to have difficult conversations with people because they need to grow and benefit from those conversations. But those conversations don't end just with middle management, let's say, or even the C-suite and the people that work for them. The highest level of leadership needs to be having those courageous conversations amongst themselves.
Why do you think that there's such what's the problem with people not being able to have, I just got my MBA and I had a whole class of difficult conversations, basically. Why is it so hard for people? Is it just that they don't think it's important? They don't understand?
I think it's uncomfortable. I think it's uncomfortable. We talked about this in one of our team meetings about how do you tell somebody that they're lower on the EQ scale? I think it's easier to say you're not doing well understanding this program, and I need to provide you with better training on how to do this. So here we're going to set you up. I don't even think that's a courageous conversation. I think that's pretty easy. But how do you tell somebody that they are lacking compassion, or that they're not a good communicator, or that they don't have good judgment?
Yeah.
I've been in a lot of meetings with people that fail at communicating with the client. And I've had to have very difficult conversations with them outside of those meetings. And I've had to politely try to take charge while the meeting is happening in a lighthearted way, because you can't let the meeting go off the rails.
Right.
But you have people that are talking over the client's head. They don't really understand the concept. They're using terminology that doesn't make sense. They're not keeping the meeting on track. And then you have to have this conversation with them that they don't know how to lead a meeting. I mean, I think some conversations are just harder to have because it's almost like you're attacking their character.
Yeah, right. And if you're a good manager and a good leader, you're not. I mean, I've had people make those difficult conversations.
It's all in the delivery. You should be coming from a position of compassion. And you're doing it because you want them to succeed. And you're sharing your observations with examples, I think always is really helpful. Yeah. And you want to develop a roadmap to have them succeed ultimately at the company. But those conversations have to happen too, like I said, at the higher levels, because you can't have those cultural bubbles where you and your team are fantastic, but the leadership doesn't give a crap about people.
Yeah.
And they don't care about training. They don't care about personal development or offsite team meetings or incentivizing people, or they don't care about anything that we train on. But here you and your little bubble of a team are fantastic.
Yeah.
Courageous conversations have to happen at upper level C-suite management as well.
Yeah. And that's part of what we teach.
That's part of what we talk about too. Someone needs to kick maybe sometimes the president's ass. I don't know who's going to do that. Depends on when you have a board of directors, because sometimes it really needs to maybe be the board of directors.
Yeah. I mean, I just think that when it comes down to it, I just keep coming back to it, but people over everything, when it comes down to it, it's just really putting your people first will actually benefit your bottom line. Yeah. It's not just, kumbaya, like Scott always says, it's not just, we're not kumbaya having a party, yay people. There's a reason. All of these, everything is strung together. Our acquisition, our onboarding and retention pillars, and all of our training in labs is strung together by people and what's important, putting them first, and authenticity and realness and genuineness, and being who you say you are.
Yeah, because people are going to know too. Employees will see right through you. So I think it is unfortunate when leaders fake it on behalf of maybe being forced. I think they have to really shift their mindset. It's a change how you see things with hopes. Oh my goodness.
Hey, I have to tell you this while your phone rings, and anyone's I have Instacart. I don't have 1 minute to go out to the supermarket today. So Instacart has probably texted me 16 to 20 times while I've been on this damn podcast.
I usually turn these ringers off before.
It's not they're off. It's just vibrating every 2 seconds. Like asparagus replaced with broccoli. Like, really?
So funny. I need to do that, by the way.
It's seriously important to be able to do that. But
I'm going on vibrate. Sorry about that.
And that's okay. I think at the end of the day, what it comes down to is, again, we are always preaching people over everything, and there's definitely a reason. There's a real reason, and there's a lot that should resonate with leadership. After hearing this, and we're obviously open to questions, and please just reach out to us, trysomethingnew.com. And we are ready, willing, and able to talk to you, and we can give you examples of how we've been successful in the past, and what we're currently doing to help companies to, put their people first and end up saving and making more money.
Yeah. I think the only thing that we didn't touch upon was offboarding. And I don't think that offboarding is actually even in our retention in our retention pillar, but making sure that everybody that comes through your door is a brand ambassador, and making sure when they leave that they leave thinking and speaking highly of your company.
And we always talk about Gary Vee. Gary Vee has that down. I mean, people just leave and they're like preaching about how wonderful the company is, and they've left or they've been let go, whatever the case may be. Yeah. But they carry that, like you just said, brand ambassador role. And that's how you want things to be. That person is walking around, talking about your company, and you want it to be positive.
Yep. Yeah. You never know whether you might want to rehire them. You never know if they're going to be working for a company you want to do business with. Social media is everywhere. You don't want bad social media reviews. Yeah. People are constantly calling past employees to get reviews on your company. It's, if you don't want,
to see if rumors are true or something. It's like really all of these pieces are super important when it comes to your people. And your success.
I hope that at some point, maybe you and I can do like a Q&A. We can do one of these live Q&As and see if we can get some people on and they can just ask us questions rather than us talking.
I would love to. I mean, it's fun to talk about too, because like we know it, inside and out. And it's nice to sort of just talk about what Something New Labs is, because I think for a long time people sort of weren't sure. And they just saw us as recruiters. So I'm glad that we're able to showcase what Something New Labs does.
Yeah.
But do you have anything else to add? You're good.
No. Do you?
No. Sure, thanks a lot. No. No, it was great, Allie. I love.
Do we have any questions that are worth?
No, point. Yes, they're picking up the work. Definitely not compensated for it. No, nothing right now. Just the ones that I pulled up before. But I appreciate everybody watching, and we love talking about our company and what we do and how we can help you. And that's who we are.
Yeah. Thank you so much for watching, guys. We're always here.
With our double wave.
With our double waves.
All right. I'll see you later, everybody.
Bye, guys.